cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
As you know, Vincent's is not just my favorite jeweler. Vincent's is my only jeweler. And I was in recently looking at lab-grown diamonds. These are not glass. They are actual diamonds, but they cost a fraction of a natural diamond. You can check them out at Vincent's.com, or better yet, see these lab-grown diamonds in person. You're going to be amazed at the beauty and the price. Vincent's Jewelers, VincentsJewelers.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of the Allman Report brought to you by STL Fenceworks, celebrating 50 years of industry-leading service for fence, deck, and leisure space solutions. Visit STLFenceworks.com.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. This is the Allman Report on News Talk STL, the Three Martini Lunch Yow, Common Sense Radio. Jamie Allman here in Ashland over there, and I feel like spring is on the way. I really do. Next week, it should be in the 50s, and it'll be close to mid-February. I know it snowed in March. I have taken the kids Easter egg hunting while it's snowing, so I get all that. But I'm ready to rock and roll into spring, baby, and into summertime. So, I guess I have to talk about it because everybody else is. I'm just going to give you a really quick little synopsis of the Savannah Guthrie mom story that everybody has to put a quarter into to survive around the broadcasting business, I guess. But she's dead, and she was probably killed by a relative. She's probably killed in the house, buried someplace else. It's probably some drug-addled grandson or one of Savannah's nieces or whatever. Last night they were thinking that, I think it was Jesse Waters' show. Pointing out that, and by the way, I didn't say that she's dead as a matter of fact. I'm telling you what I think happened. So anyway, Jesse Waters was like, well, Tucson is not far from the border. It's only 60 miles or something. It's like, okay, so what does that mean? Some dirty Mexican is wanting it grabbed a woman in her 80s to take with him across the border? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So that's probably what happened. And I realized that maybe if they knew that that's what happened right away, that they wouldn't have all the stops out and all the searches and all that stuff going on. But this is probably somebody in the family. And I almost have no doubt about it. If I were the cops, I'd have every single family member under the hot lights. That is for sure, because this is something that happened, I think, inside the family. And it's definitely, truly sad. But, I've seen a lot of stories where people, it's always these nieces, nephews, grandsons, granddaughters, and that kind of thing. They're on drugs, or they're doing something, they want money, or they're didn't get money, or whatever, and that results in these kinds of things happening. I don't know, but I figure that if I'm going to have to opine about it, I'm going to opine that away. Hey, coming up, by the way, I've said this before, and beware the do-gooders. So guess what all of the government fraud has done to probably about 80% of us. Oh, and by the way, I have another Harry Enton special that is polling numbers burying the Democrat Party through 2030. So I've got that for you just a little later on, but I've been saying this all along, that the Democrat Party's on its way to obscurity, going the way of the Whigs, and there are some poll numbers that are tending to prove that. All right, so this is what happens when you create taxpayers who become cynical and tired of government and government grift and fraud and everything else. Wait till I tell you the story about how Alana Presley, I can't pronounce these names, who's part of the squad, had a net worth of, I think, negative $12,000 and is now $8 million. Her net worth is $8 million after her husband became a consultant, quit a $92,000 a year job and became a consultant just days before Presley was sworn in. And now the family's net worth is $8 million. So these kinds of stories that we are hearing, the kind of grift and government waste and everything else that is going on, it's unfortunate timing for the people who've decided that they want to increase St. Louis County property taxes for senior citizen services. Now, obviously, there might be some people who are automatic no's. I would be an automatic no. But there are some people who are on the fence saying, oh, here they go again. They've got their grubby little hands open again for more money from people to pay for these services that probably half the money doesn't even go to the services. And it's not our fault that that's the case with a lot of wastes of taxpayer dollars and everything else. It's not our fault that that's the case. But we have become exceedingly cynical about this. And tonight at the St. Louis County Council, they're going to take up an idea, put it on the November ballot, to increase St. Louis County property taxes. And I don't care how much it is. Oh, it's only $26 per $500. I don't care how much it is. I don't want to pay it. I'm tired of these people. And I think there ought to be an overall property tax revolt here in Missouri, just like there was in California back in the day. I mean, they already froze property taxes for senior citizens. They already kind of did that. But we need to go further and just put a total freeze on any property tax increases ever, which is what they did in California in 1978, and it still remains today. Yeah, they figure out ways around it. They figure out ways to grift because that's what politicians do. But we need to have that revolt. So I'll be talking to Mark Harder just in a little bit, and also the leader of Missouri Tax Relief, and that's coming up in the next 20 minutes or so. So we'll get a primer on exactly what's going on there. But this is an issue, even if you're not in St. Louis County, that you want to make sure you pay attention to, because the grift is constantly on with these politicians and everybody else who just want to take and take and take and take and take. And then we never see the money again, and we never see actually what happens in this situation. So we're going to carry on with that. I want to handle a couple things that are bothering people in our neck of the woods. And yesterday on Fox News, Janine Pirro, who, a lot of us like and everything else, said this about guns in D.C.
So
Oops, that's not the right one. That is Whoopi Goldberg and the gang now deciding that grand jury indictments aren't so great after all. But I'll get to that in just a second. Here's Janine Pirro.
You bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else. You bring a gun into this district, count on going to jail, and hope you get the gun back.
So that's disturbing. And a lot of the discussions about guns, people have said, well, you don't bring a gun to a protest. It's like, hell no. The next protest I go to, I will be armed. There's no question about it. I will have a gun at a protest. There's no chance, especially in this day and age. And so when you have the feds, and again, obviously complying with conceal and carry laws in individual states and whatever, you don't need a conceal and carry here in the state of Missouri. But, all of this kind of stuff is really disturbing when we're listening to the feds talk about limiting gun rights in any way, shape, or form. And when she says, I don't care if you have a permit, I'm thinking to myself, excuse me, that's pretty important. So we've got to be really careful in the aftermath of what happened in Minneapolis with this talk about limiting guns. Now, this guy, Pretty, he had a permit to carry. And again, I think it's the worst kind of rationalization for killing him that you could possibly come up with is that he was armed. He had the right to be armed. And until we find out whether or not he pulled a gun on these ICE agents or not, we'll have to figure that out. But merely being armed, but here's the problem. You're armed and you are assaulting police officers. You're assaulting law enforcement. You're armed and you're doing that. That puts you into a totally different category. But that's for the investigation, and we'll figure out what happened there. That's for the investigation. But on its face, he had every right to be carrying a gun. And when people talk about, well, you shouldn't be carrying a gun at a protest, it's like, well, absolutely not. You should be carrying a gun at a protest. I think that's perfectly okay, and I want to reserve my right and the rights of my fellow Americans to do just that. And you remember back in the day, I think it was during the Tea Party? I can't remember what it was, where there were people that had ARs strapped to their backs and stuff like that. And everybody talked about how they were terrorists and everything else. And now they're being lauded as American heroes in Minneapolis. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I want to get to this too. Don Lemon is saying that the arrest and his arrest was meant to embarrass him. And no, he was the one. I'm seeing more and more video of what happened in the church and everything else, and it just is really terrible to have to deal with that. And those people were traumatized. Don Lemon should be sent to prison for what he did, and since we can't deport him, because he's better off joining Boko Haram in Nigeria, because they do that kind of church attack there regularly, where they go in, scare people, kill people, terrorize people, and beyond. So that is what is happening with Don Lemon. So it's funny, though, because we have a lot of people on the left now. Remember when President Trump was indicted by a grand jury, and they talked so much about how grand juries are important to the root of our democracy, that a foundation of our democracy, as they call it, even though it's not a democracy. And now on The View, apparently, Whoopi Goldberg and the gang don't think too highly of grand jury indictments anymore, I guess.
I just want to understand, because he was at that protest like a week ago, right, in the church. And then a week later, they got a grand jury to indict him. 2 counts.
But this is
right
after they had gone to 3.
And by the way, This is this is probably the first time the View audience has really ever heard that this was a grand jury indictment. That's the one thing, as I pointed out earlier this week, yesterday, that seems to be forgotten and not mentioned in any kind of news reports about Don Lemon and his arrest, is that actually it's a result of a grand jury indictment.
Different courts trying to get judges to sign off,
Right.
and the judges in all three previous cases said to the DOJ, "Get the hell out of my courtroom, you clowns. There is no case here."
Actually, no judge ever actually said that. That's Anna Navarro making it all up. And it doesn't matter whether you went to three different judges who refused to sign off. They were all a bunch of Obama bots and Biden bots. And so what you do is you go to a grand jury to get the indictment. I'm actually surprised they didn't start with that, but they eventually got it.
They basically did it themselves. They did it. They released the news at the exact same time that they released the Epstein documents.
files.
So make no mistake about it. This was about gaslighting. This was about going against Don Lemon and other journalists, by the way, all who happen to be black.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So I think you guys have heard enough. So, and unfortunately, we're all going to be stuck with this for a long time. But yeah, so suddenly the grand jury indictments don't really matter too much anymore to these folks. Interesting. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the show. So coming up, we've got St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder, who is going to be joining us with there's another group out there with their big, fat, greedy hands open for more property tax money. Meeting about that tonight. And as I said, a revolution needs to be underway. To absolutely do what California did back in the day, when just a regular guy named Mr. Jarvis wound up creating a property tax revolution. Maybe that's coming to Missouri. This is Common Sense Radio. Happy Tuesday to all of you.
News Talk STL. Always streaming on your smart speaker, our mobile app, or newstalkstl.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about Santino's cigars, cocktails. You on my Facebook page, probably a few stories down, just put up a video over the weekend, and or actually right before the weekend. And it's a beautiful place. I had the pleasure of going down there a couple of Fridays ago, and Mike Marino, who is just an amazing host, and they've got amazing food. They have Sicilian cuisine available Tuesday through Saturday, lunch and dinner. And I had the honor of having a pizza made by the Santino crew, and man, it was good. Sicilian pizza sauce is something else. It's delicious. Let's go on to the whiskeys and the cigars. They have the gigantic humidor, and this humidor is absolutely huge. It's like a separate restaurant, for crying out loud. It's that big, and they have aged cigars, 7 to 9 years old, a smoke filtration system that is used in Vegas, so you're not getting smoked out by any stretch of the imagination. And you also are going to be privy to a bunch of really super cool drinks, because they've got people who really add so much pizzazz to the Manhattan or whatever it happens to be, or the old fashioned with the 75 different whiskeys they have there. I had this really amazing tequila while I was there. So all the choices, and they really step it up quality-wise, class-wise, and everything else. And you guys who like to smoke pipes, oh yeah, they've got pipes available too for you, and some of the best tobacco you're going to find, and plus a separate wine room and bar that is non-smoking. And they have a membership program that is one of the lowest costs around with the most benefits. So I want you to check it out. Strong supporter of free common sense conservative radio, Santino's Cigar Cocktails.com. Santino's Cigars Cocktail.com. It's just off of 55 at the Imperial exit.
Do you know why I endorse Cafe Napoli, all the locations? Visit any of them, and you will quickly appreciate the quality of food, service, atmosphere. So maybe I'll see you at Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli Kirkwood, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. Or maybe you'll find me at Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the Chesterfield Valley. Now you know why I endorse Napoli, NapoliSTL.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or STLWindowsandDoors.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I have not seen the First Lady's movie titled Melania, but judging by the numbers, I'm one of the few not to see it. Leftists were already labeling it as a publicity stunt. You have to give them credit. They do know publicity stunts. They were also trashing it, basically trying to chase away any audience. They failed miserably. Oh, and remember the Obamas have had 2 movies. Did you or anyone you know see the 2016 movie, South Side with You, the feature movie about Barack and Michelle's first date? The leftist media gave it a lot of free, positive coverage. Plus, it played at the Sundance Film Festival, opened in 900 theaters, 6 foreign countries, running 70 days. 70 days, and in that time, it collected less than $7 million over 70 days. Then there's the final year, based on Obama's last year in office. It's been out a couple of weeks. You probably didn't even know about it, did you? Well, in 2 weeks, it's brought in less than $300,000. Last weekend, Melania, despite negative advance press, brought in $7 million. Oh, the left does not want to talk about it, and it's tough to eat crow.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
101.9 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL.
So the piglets are running around with their hands out again in St. Louis County. So tonight, the St. Louis County Council is going to consider an increase to property taxes to raise money for senior citizen services. And I don't care how much it is. We're sick of this. We're tired of these people always dangling all these poor people in front of our eyes, trying to guilt us into spending more money when the government itself hasn't had the desire or even requirement to maybe remanage its budget so it can afford these things without raising taxes. That's one of the big problems we have with government is that when they need money, they just go back and take it from people. They don't ever consider redoing their budgets like you and me have to do in our house. Like when we have a budgetary problem, we got to figure out how we can cut down on things that are unnecessary and maybe be able to throw more resources towards something that is necessary. Our first response isn't to stop giving our children breakfast. And our second response isn't going to the neighbor's house and taking their money. We got to figure it out. Unfortunately, government doesn't have to do that. They just keep on just going back to our pocketbooks and back to us and taking our money. That's how it all works out. Mark Harder is our intrepid conservative St. Louis County councilman, and I have not been able to have a briefing with you on your feelings about this or whatever, but I know it'll be talked about today. How do you feel about this, Mr. Harder? Thanks for being on the show.
Well, good to hear from you, Jamie. Yes, we're going to have a meeting at 3 o'clock today. This will be a meeting where the proponents of this senior tax will be able to present their case before us. What they're asking for is that the council can put a ballot measure on a future election, and in this case, either August or November of this year, to let the citizens of St. Louis County vote on whether they would go for this senior tax. So that's the mechanism for this, and we have to vote, and a majority wins to put it on or not put it on for the future. This is a private organization of people that are advocating for this. This isn't St. Louis County wanting to put this on. This is people that are coming before us. So they've got two ways. They can go out and petition the folks of St. Louis County to put it on a ballot, or they can come to us and ask us to put it on the ballot. And then the citizens of St. Louis County will have to decide whether this is a good thing for them or not. So that's the normal mechanism. They're going to come, like I said, today at 3 o'clock. You can tune in on our website and listen to the proceedings, listen to their argument, and you be the judge of whether this is good or bad. The way it's been explained to me, and I hope it's true the way they've said it, is that this would be kind of a bucket. Over time, this would gather money. It's a property tax. It would be about $25 on a home that's worth about $250,000. This money would get charged yearly, of course, on your property tax, and it would sit there and build up. And then organizations, say a charity that does work with seniors, could come to that board, and there would be a board set up, and come to them and say, hey, we would like a grant of, $100,000 so that we can help seniors stay in their homes safely.
Okay.
And it would be up to that board to grant that money to that organization to go out and help seniors in the community.
Okay, so basically this is tax money that would be taken from citizens by the government, and then basically that money that's taken by the citizens by the government would be managed by some private board or something?
Well, it would be a board. We have a board, a senior advocacy board that we have already, and most likely they would take on this duty as well.
So what do you think about it? If you had to vote now for it, what would you think?
I'm up in the air on this. I'm hoping that we get a lot of feedback from the community, and I'm going to be asking some tough questions of this group today to see. It was done in the city. The city has this, of course. It took two ballot measures, to get on their ballot a number of years ago. Unfortunately, I think they underestimated it, and they didn't collect as much money as they thought they would get. So it's been somewhat ineffective in my opinion, because they didn't collect enough, and so they could only help a handful of people. So they're thinking because of the nature of the value of the property in the county and the sheer population and households that this would generate about $16 million a year in this reserve fund that could be used for these type of things.
Yeah, I know. Well, unfortunately, you know how a lot of us feel. It's like we see, $16 million in a reserve fund. What could go wrong with that? You know what I mean? Because I think you guys, the timing is so poor because we're just seeing all these grifting operations all throughout the country that are related to community dollars and things like that. And so the timing really couldn't be worse, to tell you the truth. I feel bad for these folks. I would maybe actually suggest that they go to maybe some private entities. I'm not quite sure they've tried that. Maybe that's a question to be put to them. And, like have they talked to someone at Bayer? Have they talked to somebody at Purina? Have they, those kinds of things, because a lot of times that can be helpful as well. So we'll see.
Right. No, and that's it's funny we think alike. That's one of my questions. And to find out who in this space is doing this type of work right now with private money and not public money. Is Catholic Charities doing it? Is United Way doing it? There are others in this space that are doing it, and what success or failures are they experiencing when it comes to this? I imagine there would also be some type of means test. I'm going to ask about that, which means that the lower end of the spectrum will get the service, and the upper end of the spectrum will pay for it. So, we'll see how that math works out as well.
Yeah, I also wonder whether or not, because I thought the normal process would be for an organization that wants a grant from the government would go before the St. Louis County Council and seek the grant, or there would be some kind of legislation that would allow for money to go to a certain organization. It sounds to me like they just want to go ahead and get a big, gigantic windfall to go into some reserve fund, and so they can pick through it that way instead of having to do the hard work of actually doing it through the government. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and those are good questions, and those are things that I don't know if we'll find out if they've thought through this and how they're going to do that, and how this organization would dole out this money. We definitely don't need another Somalian daycare center situation.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean,
we can hold them accountable.
That would be great, because I would wish. I know that Mr. Hancock has also indicated he's up in the air about it, but I think I'd rather see and you got elected, not me, but I'd rather see an outright no right off the bat. But hopefully, I know you guys have to do your due diligence and all that kind of stuff, and so, but hopefully after it there is an outright no. So we'll see. Councilman Harder, you're the best, man. Love your show here on the weekends. Always really very interesting people on it. So what's coming up this weekend, my friend?
Well, we're working on it for this weekend. I've got a gentleman from our St. Louis County Port Authority, Mike Hania, will be on. We're going to have one of our sponsors, Jim Brennan from McKelvey Homes, will be on to talk about real estate.
Oh, okay.
And I'm working on trying to get a representative from the Moms organization that has been advocating for the RECA money to be spent on people that have gotten cancer in North County. So I'm trying to work on a representative of them to speak at the meeting as well. That's a big topic in our community, and one that people need to know more about it. And there's a lot of disinformation and misinformation out there about it, and we've got to get out the good word about it.
Right on, so, Mark Harder. Yeah, and I think that's something you and I haven't really commiserated about, but we're both in the real estate business, and I don't think we've really talked much about that. Maybe we will down the line. I'm sure you're great at it.
Sure,
so
anytime.
All right, Councilman Harder, thank you so much, and we'll see you this weekend.
Okay, see you then.
All right, thank you very much. And so we know that there are continued efforts in terms of the situation regarding what we can do to maybe copy what California did, 50 years ago, when Jarvis and his crew basically launched a property tax revolution that remains actually on the books today via a proposition that government people have figured out a way around in some cases. Again, you heard Mark describe what this is, and basically what it is, it's the government basically stealing our property tax dollars and then putting it into a reserve fund that all of these community organizations will start picking through. I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. And that's why I said, what could go wrong with that, Councilman Harder? a reserve fund, and he's not advocating for it. He's just pointing out what it is. A reserve fund that's full of my money and everybody's money that all these community organizations are starting to pick through. There's no way. This is absolutely intolerable and shouldn't be the case. Dennis Ganahl. Dennis, will you tell me how to pronounce your last name? I'm sorry.
It's Ganahl, Jamie.
Oh, Ganahl. Okay, I didn't see the L. I thought it was an I. Dennis Ganahl, he's with Missouri Tax Relief Now, and I'm not quite sure whether you heard all of that about this latest effort here, but thank you for all the hard work you do for common sense tax policy in Missouri. What do you think the next step needs to be here?
Kill it. I mean, it's just outrageous. You know, to be honest, ever since the senior property tax freeze has been passed, the taxing authorities are just going nuts. I think we've got every fire department trying to pass a sales tax. You know, they're all trying to get off property taxes now because we're starting to stop that. So now they're trying to pass sales taxes this coming April. So be ready to vote no on those.
Yeah.
Then we get, you know, a new property tax here. I mean, it's exactly what we're talking about of what's happening in Minnesota right now. All we're going to have is a bunch of, and I hate to use this term, but probably Democrat, organizations that are going to be applying for these funds that are going to be, collected on taxes, for seniors or for whoever they claim. I mean, there's plenty of help for everybody.
Yeah, and Dennis Ganahl, this situation, then of course the money is going to be distributed by some kind of senior citizens board that apparently already exists through the county. And this is such a grift. I just can't even believe that they're even considering it. And that's why I asked Councilman Harder, I'm like, you need to ask these people, like, have they tried any other avenues, like going to some of these private organizations so they can stop preying on honest, hardworking homeowners and taxpayers?
Yeah, I think it's called Medicare already, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what Medicare is. I mean, I'm a little disappointed really in cities. There's a lot of all the cities that you talk to, they claim that they're in financial distress. I was listening to a meeting last night in Kirkwood. They've got a lot of financial issues. And then you've got cities like Chesterfield that are giving billionaires, $350 million in tax credits because evidently they don't need the revenue. And it's just, and at the same time, they're claiming that they're all broke. They don't have any money. They need more money. We need more sales tax. We need more property tax. And it's just enough is enough. We defeated Prop S last spring, and I think we're going to, or last fall rather, and I think we're going to be beating all these others back too. I don't know what Gretchen Bangert's thinking about or talking about, but I mean, I'm not surprised that the first thing she does when she comes on is try to get some kind of a tax passed.
Yeah, well, these communities that are complaining about not having enough money, well, of course, that's going to happen when you sold your tax base to the nearest developer who said he was going to put together a shopping mall or do whatever, and then, you TIF it out or you do these tax credits, whatever, and so these guys are all building but not contributing to the tax base of the community because it's all credited out. So... That's why they don't have the money.
That's exactly right. And we've got one bill that we've got several bills that we're pushing this session. The zero income tax, of course.
Yeah.
And we're also pushing Ben Keithley's one big, beautiful property tax bill. And that property tax bill is going to stop the grifting on these tax increases. It's going to force people, taxing authorities, to move their elections from April to November in a general election year. It's going to stop them from using the words like no tax increase. It's going to tell people that give away these TIFs and CIDs and things like that they have to count it as revenue so they can't come back then and then lay it on the backs of the property, the residence owners, and even many of the business owners too, commercial interests. They lay it on their backs as well. So that's a really important bill that we're hoping gets voted out of committee this week.
Okay. We're talking with Dennis Ganahl. He is with the Missouri Tax Relief Organization. And Dennis, is it still possible, or has that ship sailed to have something along the lines of what the world famous Jarvis did back in California? I think it was at Proposition 13 or something back in 1978 or something like that. That remains there today. And obviously, as you know, organizations have figured out a way around it. But nonetheless, is it possible to get something like that passed in Missouri?
It might be, JB. I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, I guess. I think the one thing that we thought was we had the special interim committee on property taxes that just spent a year collecting, interviews and such around the state. And that's what resulted in these, 12 to 15 policy reforms that I think will go a long way from stopping the frivolous tax increases. People just keep throwing them at you until finally you just vote for it, right? So I think the first goal is to get a hold of the process. They've all learned to work around the Hancock. We needed probably a couple of Hancock things.
Yeah, right.
Because and even Proposition 13, my understanding was that they've learned to work around Proposition 13.
Oh, yeah, big time.
So, right. So it's a constant battle.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, when we'll go into Jeff City to testify, there will be every ambulance district, fire district, library. The school districts don't show up because they're taking away 70%. They don't want to show their faces. But, all the other taxing authorities will be there. And we're the only group that's standing there for taxpayers.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wow. And you hope the other part of the group standing there for taxpayers would be the ones elected by them, but you never know.
Well, they're getting a lot stronger. The legislators are doing a much, much better job than they did, in the past 3 years. They've really come on strong. And there's a lot of good tax legislation down there this year.
Right on.
Another bill. Yeah. So I think we've got a lot of hope. But what we've got to do is get people to get to the polls and defeat these issues. That's the key.
No doubt about it. Dennis Ganahl, thanks for your heroic efforts on our behalf. How do people get more information about your organization?
Well, if they go to our website, Jamie, at motaxreliefnow.org, they can sign up, join our team, and then we'll be sending out weekly newsletters that kind of tell people what our efforts are and tell them, who to contact as far as legislators and how to submit testimony on behalf of bills that we support.
All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate it, and thanks for all the hard work you're doing. Let's keep in touch for sure, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamie.
All
I
right,
appreciate
that is Dennis Ganahl with Missouri Tax Relief. So, and here's the thing, and you notice he mentioned fire departments and ambulance districts and that kind of thing, and that is actually the shame of what our grifting criminal politicians have done to us through the whole tax issue and property tax issue and everything else. Because the first type of stress that they have on their budgets, they decide they're going to cut services that are safety-oriented and everything else, because they figure if they do that, they could scare you into increasing property taxes because they put a gun to the head of public safety services. They do that with the schools, too. Whenever there was an effort to cut property taxes or cut taxes in Missouri, I'll never forget this. The first stop for Jay Nixon was always a gymnasium at a school to talk about how, and basically he's putting a gun to the head of Missouri's children, saying, I'm going to pull the trigger if you guys don't stop this effort to cut taxes. Because, as I pointed out earlier, if living like you and me do, our first response to any kind of financial stress is not stopping feeding our children, right? But with the government, that's exactly what it is. The first sign of stress, the first time of any need for any kind of accountability, they'll threaten your safety services and your children's educations instead of deciding whether or not they need that many government cars or whether or not they're going to go to the Association of Council Members Consortium in Las Vegas. So they won't ever go into cutting salaries or trying to rebudget or reconfigure their budgets, their first stop is always to threaten you and scare you and pit us against first responders and educators. That's the criminality of the government elected official and appointee mind. And we shouldn't put up with it at all anymore. That's what I'm saying. So hopefully we'll catch on to this grift, because that's what's happening. Phil says, yeah, it's always the police, fire, first responders, and educators. And we stand up for LEO. We stand up for our first responders, and they know that, so they want to create tension between us, as if us advocating for tax relief is taking food out of the mouths of our first responders. It's a shame the way they operate. Total gaslighting and manipulation and cynical, I'll tell you. This is Common Sense Radio, as you just heard, right? It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
News, analysis, opinion.
It almost seems common sense, but, alas, common sense isn't so common these days.
News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that, because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
When you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Columbo and Company.
Republicans negotiating with Democrats and themselves to find a deal to end the new government shutdown. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local, weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. Common Sense Radio. The Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here in Ashland there, and I am this whole Super Bowl thing. I mean, I always look forward to the Super Bowl, but this whole thing that happened with the Grammys and Bad Bunny doing the halftime show, I can't figure out why the NFL decided that was a good idea. And plus, it's the National Football League. Why do you have some foreigner doing your halftime show? What the hell? And, of course, this Roger Goodell, he's such a wuss. And I'm sure they're not going to say, hey, Bad Bunny, whatever you said at the Grammys, don't say that during the halftime show. Please. Seriously. Don't say that. But as it is, I'm sure Goodell couldn't muster that, because now he's talking about how the NFL needs to do better, because there were 0 black head coaches hired in this last cycle here.
We need to continue to make progress, and I believe that. I believe diversity is good for us. I think we have become a more diverse league across every platform, including coaching. But we still have more work to do.
Yeah, actually, Roger, I think it's the black coaches that have more work to do, don't you think? Because if you're good, you're going to get hired as a head coach. If you're not going to get hired. You have to realize that these NFL teams, and by the way, wait till you hear what Morrissey, remember Morrissey, right, over there in Europe? He is so red-pilled. He's so amazing. He'll talk about what diversity is, because we all know that diversity is not what Roger Goodell is talking about. But the fact of the matter is, NFL teams are in the business to make money. They're in the business to make a profit. And if a black coach isn't good, they're not going to hire him. If a white coach is better, they're going to hire him. It's business. That's what it is. Unfortunately, under Goodell's thinking is, I know what we'll do. We'll just kind of force teams to hire a black coach and lose games. And by the way, there are just as bad white coaches out there, too. What I'm saying is NFL teams are not in this business. Hopefully not. Hopefully, your NFL team isn't in this business of kind of making sure you're diverse as opposed to making sure you're excellent. And especially in sports, for crying out loud, and especially in coaching. This so-called diversity in coaching is going to give people losing seasons just for the sake of being woke. This is crazy. But Goodell seems to be all about it. And, okay, so there were no new black coaches hired in this season. That's not the NFL's problem. That's the black coaches' problem. Maybe if the black coaches were better, they would have been hired. Because, again, you have to apply common sense to this, is that an NFL team is going to go for the person they think is the best. And if that person is a horse, they'll hire the horse. I mean, that's how motivated they are by profit. And so this idea of just kind of getting a few blacks in there for the sake of getting a few blacks in there is a losing proposition, and they know it. So good luck with your diversity program, Roger. Fans don't like losing teams. They like winning teams and winning coaches, black or white. It's Common Sense Radio, the 3 Martini Lunch.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Why leave your company's story to chance? In today's digital world, video content isn't just an option. It's essential for your success. At Blue Ocean Media Group, we've spent decades crafting compelling visual stories for businesses just like yours. From concept to completion, our award-winning team transforms your vision into powerful video content that connects with your audience and drives results. Don't trust your brand to amateurs. Partner with Blue Ocean Media Group. Visit blueoceanmediagroup.com today, and let's bring your story to life.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business, helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. U.S. Central Command says a U.S. Navy fighter jet has shot down an Iranian drone that was approaching the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln in the Arabian Sea. And Central Command says that the drone was approaching aggressively and with unclear intentions. Meanwhile, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, says he doesn't believe the Iranian regime's claim that a U.S. military strike against Iran would trigger a regional war.
I don't understand why they say a regional war. Where does region come into this? Who's going to join Iran at this point? What friends do they have in the world? Certainly not the Chinese, not the Russians. There's nobody in the Middle East. It's not a regional war. You're going to have terrorist organizations like the Houthis, like the terrorists in Syria and Iraq firing missiles. That is not a regional war.
Oren was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. A bill to end a partial government shutdown is nearing final passage in the House after narrowly clearing a critical procedural hurdle. Congressman Tom Cole calling for passage.
I encourage everyone on both sides of the aisle to do the right thing and close out 5 of our remaining 6 appropriations bills for FY 2026 while enacting funding for core priorities.
The House is voting at this hour. NASA's long-awaited moonshot with astronauts is off until at least March.
The space agency announcing the news Tuesday following a critical fueling test of its giant moon rocket in Florida. At Monday's dress rehearsal, hydrogen was seeping from the base of the rocket. That went into overtime Tuesday because of all the problems. Arizona State University space professor Lori Leshin says NASA puts safety first.
The great thing about the moon is you get a launch period every month. So that if we slip to March or to April, it's no big deal.
With their moonshot launch now off until at least March 6th, the 3 Americans and 1 Canadian astronaut can now emerge from quarantine.
That's Julie Walker. More at townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Now that we're finally into the new year, a lot of us are thinking about taxes, home projects we've been putting off, ways to get ahead financially in 2026. Now's the perfect time to talk to my friends at Fellowship Home Loans. If you want to lower your mortgage payment, they can help you refinance. If you need access to cash for home improvements or to wipe out high-interest debt, their fixed-rate line of credit is one of the best tools out there. Fast approval, predictable rate, and flexibility to use your home's equity wisely. Remember, many people still qualify to skip their next 2 mortgage payments. Imagine starting big projects or paying down debt with 2 months of breathing room. My family and I have used Fellowship personally. I trust these guys. Take control of 2026. Go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G. or call 800-510-MIKE. That's 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans. Mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers. DBA Fellowship Home Loans. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 819382.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Skies are a little cloudy today, and it's chilly, but those high temperatures will be above freezing, so we're melting snow, and that's a good thing. We'll see the high about 36 degrees today, and the winds will be pretty light over the next couple of days, generally out of the north today and tomorrow. And we're looking at overnight lows tonight in the teens with a high tomorrow in the low 30s, so a little cooler, but we'll warm up a little bit as we head toward the weekend, near normal at times in the low 40s. It looks warmer still next week with highs in the 50s. In the KMOV Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kent Earhart.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with this free call. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. 800-524-1641. That's 800-524-1641.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount supermarket for all airline tickets. Plus, we have all the airlines and always have the best prices. American, Delta, United, plus all the specialized international airlines and a lot more. And we make it easy. We guarantee you'll talk to a live human in 60 seconds. You can have the rates you need and have your trip booked in 5 minutes. Now, how cool is that? And remember, when you're talking to us, it's like talking to every single airline available with one fast phone call. All you need to do is call and find the best prices to fly wherever it is you want to go. So are you ready? Call Low Cost Airlines right now. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all of you and yours. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. Yeah. You know who this is? This is a guy named Morrissey. And he is like a national hero among the conservatives over there in the UK and in the rest of Europe, because he really calls out the mass migration thing and the idiocy known as diversity, which diversity is not diversity. It's control, and as Morrissey points out, it's conformity is what it is. But I'm going to let him talk about it. He was interviewed about it on a podcast, and this is just more great Morrissey stuff. I mean, this is really, and in the UK, in Europe, and I think to a certain degree here, it should be an absolute truth bomb about what it all is. And thank goodness President Trump, his administration, and his policies really have freed us from the slavery of this diversity push and DEI and all that other nonsense. Earlier, you heard Roger Goodell talk about how, well, we need to do better when it comes to hiring black coaches. And like, we all know what the truth is. And the truth is the black coaches need to do better because NFL teams hire the best. They don't hire the whitest or they don't hire the blackest. And I'm glad they don't. And I'm sure many fans are glad that they don't. Well, here's Morrissey talking about it.
you say anything that they don't agree with, they're not interested.
They won't see you through the journey anymore.
No, they're not interested. They're not. And that's, that now they talk all about, we must have diversity, which is diversity is people that you don't know, and it just means, it's just another word for conformity. It's the new way of saying conformity, diversity. You don't see anything diverse anywhere. No. It's all conformity.
It's having the opposite effect, in fact, isn't it?
It is, because when people talk about diversity, they don't think about the great things that we don't have in common. And those things are ignored. And they always made countries very interesting, because you could travel to Germany, you could see the most incredible culture. You go to Italy, you see the most incredible culture. Now they just want everything to be the same.
Yeah, and that's a design, by the way, by the intruders into these societies and into these cultures. And most of the intruders just happen to be the same flavor. But who knows? You can make your own conclusions about all of that. But when he mentions Germany and when he mentions Italy, you could see already. Did you see what happened in Turin? In Turin, Italy, they've been overrun by these migrant thugs. Italy's done a pretty good job of containing their border and maintaining their culture, even electing a conservative president. But Germany has already basically fallen to the people who are the funguses of the world coming into countries that are already weakened and then ultimately taking them over. And so when Morrissey points out, German culture, in Germany, German culture is terrifying to a lot of the Germans, because they've been taught that their history of nationalism has been terrible, and therefore flying a German flag or being nationalistic is actually a bad thing, not a good thing, because of their reputations from back in the day. France has a certain part of that as well. And so what happens is, because of their shame and their self-loathing of their cultures, well, it's very easy for outsiders to move in. And it's also very easy for those who want to replace the culture with something different. It's very easy for them to invite those people in, which has been happening. Now, these people aren't just coming in on their own. They're being encouraged to come in to the countries because there are people who have are hell-bent on watering down and even replacing the cultures that made these countries great. In Spain, the left-wing leader there is unabashed about it. I would play it for you, but it's in Spanish. So, but he says he's celebrating the replacement of Spanish culture. The left-wing party in France is doing the same thing. They are celebrating the replacement of French culture by Muslims. So, because that's what they want. Because they can, actually, oddly enough, the people who come in, the mass migrations, are not controlling the country. They're being controlled by the politicians who brought them in. Somalians. It's happening here. The Somalians who came into this country were invited here and shepherded in here, along with all the other illegal aliens, by politicians who found a pliable and useful and not so smart group of people they could manipulate and they could ply with government money and everything else, turning them into voters who would elect them. Now, there are some Somalis who are getting elected, but there certainly are no illegal aliens getting elected, and the white liberals, most of them are white liberals, absolutely know that. So if they could bring enough people in and ply them with stolen tax dollars and everything else, they have an entire society that they can control, and that they managed to replace Christians, blacks, white people, that kind of thing. And even hardworking immigrants, they do that. So the replacement theory is alive and well, and Morrissey's pointing out that it's all done actually under the guise of diversity. So diversity has been the main engine behind the destruction of cultures and the destructions of societies, because they make people think that diversity is a good thing and you have to give up everything for the sake of it. And that's a crime, but that's what exactly they're doing.
So diversity means conformity. It doesn't mean avant-garde or let's make really interesting, strange art. It means box everybody.
Yeah.
Diversity, I think, is a dreadful word.
Yeah, it is. And he's absolutely right. And, back in the day, of course, I don't know, even 10 years ago or something, those kinds of words would have been heretical. They would have maybe even gotten you fired for telling the truth about what diversity really is. And the shame of it is, and as Morrissey points out so excellently, that he says, that when they talk about diversity, they're not talking about like brand new ideas and stepping things forward and moving into another category of art or music or governance or whatever. They're just, as he points out, they're just talking about boxing people into a certain place where they can control them. And that's exactly what the Uniparty and all of the DEI people and all those people absolutely want to do. And you notice, even when it comes to some corporate diversity programs like DEI and stuff, like the CEOs are never the black people, right? The CEOs and the second vice president and the CFO, they're never the black people, right? But the mid-level managers and the branch managers are the black people, and they owe everything to their white masters who brought them in. And so that's control. That's what they do in the corporate world in many cases. And in government, they do that too. I mean, have you noticed that the black people are not the ones, well, until Obama, right? But he was put up there by a white liberal establishment. Black people are not the ones who are the House Majority Leader. You got Hakeem Jeffries. It's as far as the black population has ever really gotten, right? But for the most part, you remember when Nancy Pelosi was House Speaker and you had the squad? It's interesting how it was even called the squad, right? But the squad was just right there. They were never going to get past white lady Nancy Pelosi. So that was all kind of garbage, and everybody knew it. But that is Morrissey's take on diversity. I want to, speaking of music, while we're still here. So I have to tell you, what happened, Ashton? What did we do? We got kicked off? Well, they're kicking off for the music. They're policing our music. And so we got kicked off for Nothing But Thieves earlier. We just got kicked off for playing Morrissey because it's all copyright stuff. So they're kicking us off. That's what they do. Sometimes they're more active than other times, and it just kind of all depends. Anyway, you know from the Grammys, because this was a big deal about Billie Eilish, who said that there are no strangers on stolen land or whatever. I can't remember what she said, but and you know what's really nobody is illegal on stolen land is what she said. But before I get to the fact that she's got this multi-million-dollar house technically on stolen land, it's such a shame because Billie Eilish is probably one of the most talented musicians to come along in a very, very long time. You know, she's the only person in music in the 21st century who has 2 Academy Awards as well as Grammys. I mean, it's pretty darn amazing her accomplishments and the kind of musician and talent that she is, because she is almost remarkable in what she has done. She has, she's got like 3 or 2 Golden Globes too, and then all these Grammys, and she's the only one. Actually, maybe I'm trying to keep my facts straight here. She's the only one, I think, in modern Grammy history to have won in one year the Album of the Year, Artist of the Year, Best Art. I don't know. It was like 4 different awards. I mean, so she's so accomplished. It's like, how do you dumb yourself and diminish yourself in this fashion on the world stage like that, to the point where a lot of America just basically beclowns you, and you make some idiotic statement like that. It's like really, really too bad, because she's. I was reading about her, and she didn't come on the scene until like 2019 or something, but she's pretty. I don't really listen to her music, although I have some of her music, and I think she's got a great voice, very unique, and she's really good at what she does. She's almost like in that category close to Taylor Swift or what have you, where just like their monster accomplishments. Well, now there's a guy who calls himself Stuttering Craig, and he is saying that he is a descendant of the Tongva people, and he is tweeting this out or Xing this out to Billie Eilish. As a descendant of the Tongva people, I am here to reclaim my land that you have stolen. Please advise how we can move ahead with this process. Thank you. So he's like he wants his land back. Maybe not her house, but at least the land where her house is. And so I don't really know how this is all going to wind up for her, but man, it's just like these people fall into these trick bags, and not my problem. All right, speaking of the Squad, this is going to infuriate you how Alyana Presley made her money. I mean, it is really weird. And speaking of weird, I'm watching the Real America's Voice, and I swear Mike Johnson looks like he's wearing rouge and lipstick. Right, Ashlyn? That's really weird. And I don't think it's like a colorization of the thing, but I think he's wearing lipstick.
I mean, it could be blush tint. I think maybe.
What is blush tint? Is that like maybe rouge is like too old?
Yeah, it's like blush. Well, it's just a tint, like a lighter version of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I'm not trying to make fun of him or anything. I'm just telling you, he's got makeup on. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Sorry, but that's just the truth. All right, wait till you hear how Alyana Presley seemingly got buku wealthy after coming into Congress like a lot of other people. So follow up on that. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
I think we should be able to have a civil conversation.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
News Talk STL.
Ladies and gentlemen, Newsteaders, Fine Jewelry, Dorothy Ferry, and Big Bend. And wow, I have to tell you that it's wowdiamonds.com. That is the website right there. And the wow part of it comes from when Jackie Newsteader opened her eyes and opened everybody else's eyes to the mined diamonds and the lab-grown diamonds and said, wow, look at these things. And that's where the wow diamonds came from. You go into the store. It's beautiful, by the way. It's beautifully lit. It's not lit to make the jewelry look shiny or whatever. The jewelry all shines on its own. The diamonds sparkle like you wouldn't believe. And so if you're planning the big one If you're planning a wedding, if you're planning an engagement, or just for the fun of it, for diamonds, whatever, wowdiamonds.com and Newsteaders Fine Jewelry is the place to go. Want to let you know that the people who work at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, wowdiamonds.com, they are jewelers. They're not salespeople, meaning they are knowledgeable about what it is that you are looking at. So Diana will walk you through the amazingness of the stacker rings. So these rings are really gorgeous, and they're playful, and they are absolutely movable, and you could change them with any outfit, whatever. And these are rings that, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can, mix and match them, all those kind of things with these beautiful gemstones in them, and they're very simple, but they really are fun, because you can mix and match them, and depending on what your wardrobe is, whatever. Those are really cool. It's a great gift idea for Valentine's Day to start your lovely one on a stacker ring collection. That would be great. Gals, if you're into that on Valentine's Day, not sure many of you do, whatever you do, the Bull of a Watch, I've got the Frank Sinatra Bull of a Watch on, which is fantastic. They've got the Sportif Bull of a Watches as well. So whatever it happens to be, if you're gearing up for a big ski trip or whatever it happens to be, they have those kinds of Bull of a Watch configurations as well. All the golds you're going to find anywhere in the land, and of course rubies, sapphires, all these beautiful gemstones are there for you. They have a wish list, so if you want to go in prior to Valentine's Day, pick something out, put it on the wish list. When someone basically asks or you want to prompt them, you let them know your name, and what you want is on the wish list at Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, Doherty Ferry, and Big Bend. God is welcome here is right above the door, and of course, you are welcome too. Newsteaders Fine Jewelry, wowdiamonds.com.
Duck and goose season still on, and Whistle Pig Outdoors has everything you need to finish strong. Hey, it's Mike Ferguson, and right now get 40% off all Taka hunting clothing in Mossy Oak Bottomland. Bow broken? Well, their archery pro shop sells Hoyt and Bear bows, custom arrows, and they provide expert service. Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main Street in Troy, or visit whistlepigoutdoors.com. Whistlepigoutdoors.com. Whistle Pig, get back out there.
Honey, he says we're in legal trouble, and we're going to lose our retirement. We have to get to a crypto ATM now.
This can't be right.
It's not right. I'm Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. We've received reports of devastating new scams involving crypto ATMs.
Let's report this.
We're here to help. Report suspected fraud at 800-392-8222 or visit ago.mo.gov.
Sponsored by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Jamie Allman here in Ashland over there, and she's going to take us to Washington, D.C., where House Speaker Johnson is taking some questions. And I can't get past... I'm normally really not gratuitous. I'm not trying to be. But he looks like he's wearing blush and lipstick. And I can't get over it. So I want to listen, though, to what he has to say. That's what he has to say.
They don't have the right to change its laws or to change its society. They're expected to assimilate. We haven't had a lot of that going on. When people cite passages out of the Old Testament, they say, well, you're supposed to take care of the sojourner and the neighbor, treat him as yourself, welcome them in. Yes, but that is an admonition to individuals, not to the civil authorities. The civil authorities are given authority under Scripture to maintain order. Romans 12, you want to do this? Romans
yes,
13.
I do want to do this. Thank you.
The civil authorities are God's agents of wrath to bring punishment upon the wrongdoer. And it says if you do right, you have no fear of the civil authorities, but those civil authorities are necessary. It's a calling. It's a calling to maintain order in society, and we have not had that. When Biden and Harris opened the borders wide for 4 years, we had as many as 20 million illegals come across the country, and we all know many dangerous people, hardened criminals, child molesters, rapists, murderers, all the rest, terrorists who came into the country. We did not take care of our borders. Sovereign borders are biblical and good and right, and they're just, because it's not because we hate the people on the outside, it's because we love the people on the inside. We should love our neighbor as ourselves, as individuals, but as a civil authority and the government has to maintain the law. And that is biblical, and it's right, and it's just, and I'm happy to have this lengthy debate with anybody. And
Good for him. It just so happens we lucked out because we just took him live here. That was the last comment he made before we walked away. And, we've all been trying to say this, and I'm so glad that finally, actually, somebody with authority is saying it and just blowing this garbage. Every time somebody tries to throw the Gospel of Matthew at us to defend their wealth redistribution or their harboring of illegal aliens. And so what Mike Johnson just did there was just drop a truth bomb to all of America. You know what the media's going to do with that, though. Oh, look at that Bible-thumping freak, whatever. But he's absolutely right. And we've been trying to convey this for heaven knows how long, because you know how it is. I mean, I happen to be Catholic, so I got to deal with all these Catholics who are like, well, and priests who are commenting about, the Gospel of Matthew and how that applies to the way our government should operate. Even a pope, for crying out loud, and they totally bastardize what the Bible says about people versus civil authorities. Last weekend, on Sunday, it was, in fact, the Beatitudes. It was the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew 5:6, the Beatitudes. And that was the gospel that was read at Mass. And, of course, that's another one that people screw up all the time because part of that is blessed are the meek. And, of course, people confuse meek with being weak and a pushover, whatever. No, meek is the honoring of God. That is what meekness is. It is the honoring of God's will. Meek is not being, oh, come on, yeah, take my job. I don't care. Oh, yeah, do whatever you want. That's not meek. The way Matthew talks about it and the way the Bible talks about it. So I'm so glad that Speaker Johnson, I don't care whether he's wearing a wig, as far as I'm concerned, in a dress, he said something that is just one of the best sound bites I've heard all friggin' year. And that is because it's coming from somebody and standing in front of a bunch of idiots in the news media and American people who completely bastardize the Bible as it relates to using it to defend their stupid ideas and their damaging ideas to this country. And so as he points out, he goes, yeah, we're supposed to love our neighbor. We're supposed to, all these things that Beatitude says, all those things, we're supposed to do that. But that's what we're supposed to do. The Bible says civil authorities are to honor the law of the land. And so when he talks like that, it's hugely important for a politician, especially at that level, to talk in the manner that he is talking and make sure that he is able to get to that point. So I've got an intruder in the studio. It's like, it's okay.
What a pro.
It's okay. I'm only on the air. It's okay. It's all good. Hey, so it's great that he's able to, this is why Jeff hates me. I told you. But you know what? I managed to fend off Dan Bongino. And so I won. I'm the winner there. Jeff can still hate me, whatever. And walk behind my back and say things behind my back, which is what he said something behind my back, didn't he? Yeah. Anyway, is that a promo I need to read, by the way?
Whenever you can work it in, I don't want to get in your way.
So anyway, that is, but that is so great that, and Jeff, you'd agree too, what Mike Johnson said about defining what the Bible says about civil authorities versus what the Bible says about people. And Mike Johnson stood before the public right there on Capitol Hill. He had lipstick and rouge on, and he said very definitively that these people use the Bible to defend open borders and illegal aliens and all this kind of nonsense. are wrong. And Matthew 5:6 in the Beatitudes do not and instruct us to be kind to our neighbors and to do and loving to our neighbors and patient and all those kinds of things. But the civil authorities are instructed by the Bible to obey the law. That's what he said. Amen. 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 We got an amen from the great Jeff Allen, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, but that is so good that he's out there saying what he said, and people are able to hear it, and it's the message that we've all been waiting for, somebody to say it, and we all say it, we all try to put it on our Facebook feeds, and we all try to do all that kind of thing. But my goodness gracious, it's great that he said that. All right, this is what I wanted to get to but I wanted to take Speaker Johnson because he knows what he's talking about, and I was glad he said it. Just days before Ayanna Pressley was sworn in, it turns out her husband decided to give up a $92,000 a year job to launch a consulting firm. So this is how it all worked. Back in 2018, Presley first ran for Congress, and her financial disclosures showed a negative net worth of minus $12,500 to modest figures. But it was went from minus $12,500 to some innocuous figure. That's in 2018. 2024 disclosures, it's dramatically different. She has assets valued between $1 million and $8 million. Can you believe this? A luxurious Martha's Vineyard rental property worth up to $5 million. And then there are Boston rental properties valued up to $1 million each. Unbelievable. In 2019, she only reported the Boston property, and so she makes $174,000 a year. And then her husband quit a $92,000 a year job. So how did this happen? Well, apparently there are some people who were doing some investigations on this and found out that after her husband quit his $92,000 a year job, he launched his own consulting firm. At the time, it was kind of like, that's not, something's not right about that. And it turns out her husband is a convicted felon. He served 10 years in prison for drug trafficking. Turned his life around, which, of course, we're always happy about that. And then needed professional flexibility, he said, to support his wife's career. So he quit his job and needed professional flexibility. So his income after doing the consulting firm tripled, reached up to about $350,000 by 2021. And then after the years went through, he got a bunch of consulting gigs with nonprofits, businesses, and other government agencies and other people that were tied to the government. And then the couple then pulled in a bunch of rental income from all these businesses, and this is unbelievable. I'll let the people at the Fox News tell us the story.
Ilhan Omar isn't the only millionaire squad member. Now, our team dug into open secrets and financial disclosure reports. What we found is that when Ayanna Pressley was elected to Congress back in 2018, she had a negative net worth. You fast forward to today, she's worth $1.3 million with assets worth up to $8 million. Now, that's a massive increase in just 6 years, especially for someone on a $174,000 congressional salary.
Yeah. And so what happened is, and our husband, I guess, made the right call, right? He decided he was going to go ahead and form a consulting firm that would be able to get a bunch of contracts with people connected to the government. And, of course, when you're a consultant in this kind of situation and in this kind of position, and your wife is a sitting congressperson, you have a lot of clout with these people that you're trying to get as clients, because obviously you're married to a congressperson, and you could tell these clients, you could say, hey, I could help you out. I have connections. And of course, those connections would be his wife and then, of course, subsequently other people in Congress. So, and this is the second, of course, squad member. We talked about Ilhan Omar already, who basically have seemingly gone into Congress poor, or not really poor, but just not having a whole hell of a lot of assets and becoming millionaires in Congress. Like, when is this going to end? And more importantly, how is it going to end? That's really the key. How is it going to end? And are we just going to talk about it? Are people just going to, kind of raise the questions and everything else? Because right now what we're seeing, especially with Ilhan Omar and some of these other individuals, we've yet to see these indictments tied to some of that Somali fraud, which we're hoping to see. But it's kind of getting to be a pain for us to kind of see these stories, but then realize that maybe nothing is going to be done. That's like, okay, well, that's interesting. She's screwing us, and she got rich off of being in Congress, but, Fox News reports it, Jamie Allman talks about it, and then it disappears. So that's how it goes. We'll get you updated. We'll get you updated on the John Thune, the senator, is now talking about the shutdown situation after the House wound up passing a funding bill that ultimately is designed to avert or end the shutdown. So I'll keep you updated on that as we go along when we come back here. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the 3 Martini Lunch. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Colombo and Company.
Republicans negotiating with Democrats and themselves to find a deal to end the new government shutdown. We'll get you the latest Tuesday, plus Crane Durham and Susie Moore.
Live and local weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL. The news and talk
We have ICE agents throughout our state who are creating chaos
that matters to St. Louis.
We are enforcing federal law.
We do not need this to escalate any further.
This is 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Common Sense Radio. It's the Allman Report on News Talk STL, people. That's right. Jamie Owen here and Ashley right there, and looks like we're going to get past the shutdown thing. This is so boring. I'm sorry. It just is. Check this out, people. For tomorrow, I've got a little bit of a surprise for you guys, and it's going to be a little bit of a blast from the past. And it is related to the Olympics, my friends. Well, first of all, I want to let you know that on Monday, starting Monday, February 9th, through Friday, February 20th, News Talk STL will have the 2026 Winter Games updates throughout the day, every weekday. So we're going to keep you up to date on the daily medal counts, stories about local athletes, of course, making America proud, and our favorite memories from Winter Games past. So we're going to make sure that Best Buy Flooring and Corel Roofing are getting shout-outs for sponsoring our coverage of the Winter Games, News Talk STL's Winter Games. And tomorrow, I'm going to have a special guest. Actually, I'm going to have two of them on the air with me. And both names that you are familiar with, but and one of them will be an inextricable part of the coverage of the Winter Olympics. And, of course, we'll be having him on the air here tomorrow with me on the Allman Report between 12 and 2. I think I scheduled him for about 12:30. So you guys want to go ahead and mark that time. That is where I will be talking to an old friend of mine, an old colleague, actually, too. And then another little surprise on there, too, all related to News Talk STL's coverage of the Winter Games. And, of course, it was mentioned there that memories of the Winter Games. So a couple memories I have of the Winter Games. One of them was 1992 when the Winter Games were in Albertville. And during those Winter Games, we were taking care of a brand newborn baby, and her name was Catherine Katie Allman. She was born February 8th, 1992. I'm sorry, February 8th, 1992. And when we brought her home from the hospital, a couple days after she was born, we were watching the Olympics in Albertville during that particular time. So just a great memory there from Katie's birthday. And so she will be turning, well, I'm not going to tell you her age, but she's a fine young lady, and she works for AB up there in Brooklyn, New York. And so super proud of her, but memories of taking care of her during the Winter Olympics and just introducing her to the house, you know. It was really just a beautiful time. And I have another Olympic memory, although I think this might be a Summer Olympic memory. Forgive me, but it doesn't matter. It's a great memory I've told you about when I was in college. And you guys who have listened to me for a long time might have heard this before, but here's the situation. It was 1984, and it was when the Eastern Bloc countries boycotted the Olympics, the 1984 Olympics. And I believe it was the Summer Olympics. I can't remember whether maybe it was the winter, but it was the 1984 Olympics. And at that time, McDonald's had this promotion that if the United States won a gold medal, you got a free Big Mac. If it won a silver medal, you got a free order of fries, and a bronze medal would get you Coca-Cola or whatever soft drinks you wanted. So we had all these cards. You scratch them off, do whatever, and just got a bunch of them. And then the Olympics started, and because the Eastern Bloc countries were not in the Olympics, the U.S. was winning golds and silvers and bronze like crazy. Like it was like every day there were like 2 or 3 gold medals. And that's how we fed ourselves for weeks on end, was eating free McDonald's thanks to the U.S. Olympic teams. So we like lucked out because, you know, when the Eastern Bloc countries are involved in the Olympics, it's a little harder to win certain events and things like that. But man, we were like eating Big Macs and fries. We got tired of eating free Big Macs and fries and stuff like that. It was so great. And we just took full advantage of McDonald's. And McDonald's took an absolute bath, but they couldn't help it, even though, of course, they could afford it. But they it wasn't like their fault. They just kind of came with the promotion, and then suddenly the Eastern Bloc countries weren't part of the Olympics anymore, and so it was like, woohoo! A lot of people eating some free McDonald's, y'all. That's right. All right, listen to this. So on February 1st, the work requirements that came with that one big beautiful bill on SNAP, and there was a thing posted on TikTok saying that 42 million people across the country who rely on SNAP benefits would be affected. And so the fact of the matter is, for a lot of people, it's great news because there are work requirements now going into effect for anyone collecting SNAP benefits as of the beginning of this month. People under asylum or refugee status are no longer eligible at all. Everyone has to work 80 hours a month, even the homeless people. And again, this is what people voted for. Now, I, as you know, here on this radio show have talked often about how I do believe in the food stamp program, the SNAP benefit program, everything else. I know that there are people out there who are who are having trouble making ends meet. You know, sometimes you're just truly just a paycheck away. You know, that's true. I mean, there are real people like that. And it's designed to be also a temporary lift, a temporary program. You're not supposed to, it's not designed for you to be on for 10 years or even 2 years for that matter. It's designed to give you kind of a leg up and some help before you wind up getting into a situation where, you know, you've got kids doing whatever. Maybe you lost your job, all those kinds of things. So it really is something that I think people support.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, this could have some major impacts for sure. Right now, 42 million people across the country rely on SNAP benefits just to put food on the table. And if you remember, at the end of last year, those SNAP recipients already kind of started feeling the impacts after losing access to those benefits during a government shutdown, which ultimately were later restored.
Now, you can keep in mind this reporter from Chicago is insinuating somehow that people are going to be losing their SNAP benefits, but that's not true because if you're working, if you fulfill the work requirement, you won't lose your SNAP benefits. So, I mean, you know what? So I guess she's insinuating that 42 million people basically are just not going to want to do the 80 hours a month that they are required to do. It's 20 hours a week to work.
Now, President Trump's so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed last summer, essentially makes it harder for people to be eligible for SNAP with stricter work requirements.
Well, I mean, again, it's interesting how the mindset is somehow that making people work for their benefits or tying work to their benefits is somehow an intrusion upon their rights or whatever else. Keeping in mind, of course, they don't have receiving SNAP benefits is not a right. It's obviously a government privilege, but they're on its face. The foundation for this report somehow is that it's somehow an intrusion and wrong to require people to work for SNAP benefits.
Under that bill, $186 billion in SNAP funding were also cut through the year 2034. So here are the new work requirements now in effect. Anyone between the ages of 18 and 64 must either work, volunteer, or participate in some sort of work or educational training program for at least 80 hours a month. Under previous rules, that maximum age for these work requirements was 54. for. Now, veterans, young adults who grew up in foster care, and people experiencing homelessness are no longer exempt from work requirements like they used to be. And people in the U.S. under asylum and refugee laws are no longer eligible for SNAP benefits at all. Now, there are exemptions, though, and that includes people living with disabilities, people who are pregnant, or if you have a child at home under the age of 14, which used to be 18 under those previous rules.
Yeah, I mean, so, at 14, you could do that. I'm a little, with the veterans, I'm a little bit conflicted about that because I feel like the veterans contributed so much to this country on a volunteer basis, but also obviously were paid, but also, well, there are a lot of veterans who are on SNAP benefits because they're not paid enough for their service. So that's the one place where I would be like, oh, I don't know about that. I think our veterans ought to be auto eligible for SNAP benefits without the work requirement, but maybe you have a different opinion about that. I just feel like, man, that's like, you're talking about people who put their lives on the line for this country, and I don't know. I mean, it's a little conflicting for me.
Now, if you are exempt, you are encouraged to fill out and submit a form as soon as possible through the State Department of Human Services website. Now, we did chat with a local food bank recently about these new changes to SNAP and the widespread impacts those changes could have.
We are bracing ourselves for yet another hunger crisis. I mean, you're correct. During the recent government shutdown, we saw what happens and the hunger and hardship that was unleashed on this city and on this country.
Okay, and again, it's so frustrating listening to these stories because they're not saying what they're saying, which is they're already insinuating somehow that the work requirements people aren't going to do, and therefore they're going to starve or they're going to go hungry. But with the exception of the asylum people and the illegal aliens and everything else, if you work, you're not going to starve. If you don't, you're going to starve. I mean, it's that simple, but they're just basically just forgetting about the whole idea that, well, I don't know, if they work, then they will get their EBT benefits, their SNAP benefits. But if they don't, they won't. I mean, it's that simple, but they're just taking out that whole element of like, well, what if they work? Oh, well, then they won't starve. Okay, well, then it's very, very simple how this works. So now, if you're hungry or you're not eating or you're not feeding your family or what have you, or your family's not eating, because you're not getting SNAP benefits, it's your fault if you're not getting the SNAP benefits because you're not fulfilling the work requirement. I'm not quite sure why I'm having to kind of explain this to this entire news structure here, doing this story as if the work requirements have just simply cut people off the rolls. You can get out and work. Now, I understand to a certain degree, there are a lot of people, and I'm hoping that there's some kind of, something about part of this that is in there. I mean, there are a lot of people who don't have transportation and things like that. That's a consideration, and hopefully, that won't be a burden. And hopefully, if it is a burden, somebody can actually put forth a reason why they can't meet some of those requirements if they don't actually have transportation. So I don't know. We'll see how it works, but it just seems to me if you work, for the most part, the most people on SNAP benefits are going to go ahead and get their SNAP benefits if they just work 20 hours a week. Hey, it's Common Sense Radio. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Ashlyn, thank you so much. Coming up, we've got Tony Colombo and Company here on News Talk STL. Here endeth the 3 Martini Lunch, ladies and gentlemen, but not Common Sense Radio. Have a good one.
Hey everybody, Senator Eric Schmidt here, inviting you to the statewide Lincoln Day celebration, February 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be a great weekend with fellow patriots. We'll talk about how we're going to continue to save this country, deliver on President Trump's agenda, and also celebrate America 250. So join us there. It'll be a lot of fun.
Learn more about the 2026 Lincoln Days and get tickets at Missouri.gop. That's Missouri.gop.